Welcome everyone to Not That Media. My name is John, and in today's video I continue my series of videos relating to For the Love of Horror 2024, the upcoming horror convention in Manchester, UK. The plan for these videos is to spend a little bit of time going over the actors and actresses that I intend to meet at the upcoming convention, talk about what films I recommend to newbies and newcomers, and also highlight what I intend to, at least at the time of recording, get signed by each actor. So come along with me as I start the road to For the Love of Horror by talking about one of my favourites, Bill Moseley. Bill Moseley really needs no introduction in the world of horror. He has been a fixture of horror for well over 30 years. He goes all the way back to the 80s and he is still going strong these days. He has made small appearances in films that you probably wouldn't even realise he was there. From Army of Darkness, for example, he was part of the Army of Darkness. I believe he was the right-hand man of Evil Ash. He would go on to make other smaller appearances in things like he is Johnny in Night of the Living Dead. He is a security officer in the theatrical version of Rob Zombie's Halloween. He always makes these little appearances, but he ain't a little actor. He first really cut his teeth and his first iconic character, who to this day is still a really strong pop culture icon. Nika figures, Blu-rays, even had an unofficial sequel which got released, is his character of Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. In this, he comes flying out of the gate. He is hilarious, he is terrifying, he is disgusting, he is equally as threatening as Leatherface in many ways. He plays the brother of the hitchhiker from the first movie, the dead hitchhiker, and he was away in Vietnam during Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, but when he returned, he rejoined the family. He is missing a portion of his hair, his head, and he has no hair, but he has a metal plate in his head, and he has his iconic coat hanger which he is scratching away at the metal plate, but it's making little pieces of his head peel off, and he sits nibbling on them. He is disgusting, but he is hilarious. The opening scene that he is in, where Stretch, trying to stay very spoiler free, when Stretch has put out a signal which has drawn Leatherface and the family to her, he has a 5-minute scene before any Leatherface action kicks off where he's not stalking Stretch, but he is in Stretch's presence, and you just don't know what he's going to do. He seems really funny, but you just know any minute this guy's going to go crazy. Strong recommend Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Bill Moseley, he took no prisoners in that film, so that's a strong recommend. But that wasn't the only time Bill Moseley appeared in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ironically, many years later, having worked opposite the same actor who played the cook in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, when the timeline was reset again and Texas Chainsaw 3D was released, which served as a direct sequel to the original movie, Bill Moseley returned to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe in the opening scene, not playing Chop Top or anything else like that, but actually inheriting the part of the cook. And I will give absolute praise to Bill Moseley for making it his own, but capturing the spirit of the original cook, because that character is so iconic in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are big shoes to fill, and the sequel, but those are big shoes to fill. And Bill Moseley, he's on screen for maybe a good 5 minutes in the opening sequence. He makes that part his own, and the only really frustrating thing is that he wasn't in that film more. So if you like what you see with Bill Moseley, you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, get yourself onto Texas Chainsaw 3D if you haven't already. The rest of the film I can't comment too much on, you know, it's a divided opinion, but those first 5 minutes, boy does he own that scene. Arguably, the most recognisable character other than Chop Top that Bill Moseley has played, he has played it 3 times, is that of Otis Firefly. In the original appearance, took place in 2003 with The House of a Thousand Corpses. He plays the original incarnation of Otis, and I'll explain why I say that in a moment. He is fantastic again. Now, Otis is one of these characters that I think he has to serve a lot of points, in that he is funny, he has to be threatening, he has to be, I wouldn't say not non-threatening, but every scene Bill Moseley is in this film, he plays it differently every time. He has a fantastic ability in that film to be morally apprehensible, to be disgusting in terms of the way that he's treating people, and yet you have a good time with him as he's doing it. Like, there is a scene where he is chastising a cheerleader who is tied up, and he is, because she is screaming, and he is telling her to shut her mouth because he is working, and she doesn't know what work is. You know what work is? No, you never worked in your life. And he has this kind of venomous atmosphere towards this girl, who unfortunately very bad things are about to happen to her, but you are laughing at what he is saying, because, and I think with Bill Moseley in this as Otis, Otis is king of his own kingdom. He does not think he is insane, he does not think he is evil, he has a vision, he has an idea, he wants to execute it, and if these teenagers, if they can be part of his work, can be part of his vision, they should appreciate it, is what I would say. So he's really threatening in this film. He carries the film a lot, is what I would say. Arguably, he is the central antagonist of this movie. He gets a lot of screen time, and he is really good. And also the iconic, if you've never seen the film, the iconic white skull face with the cross and the red gown is from this film. So if you've seen that picture, then that's the film you want to see. This is a great film, it's a good recommend. It's irrelevant what people think about Rob Zombie's films early or later. This is just crazy. And I'll give you a little bit of side fun. The original early young Dwight Schrute actor, Rainn Wilson, makes an appearance in this film. So if above anything else, if you want to see Bill Moseley interacting with Dwight Schrute, even though it's not the same character, this is as close as you're going to get to it. So after the success of House of a Thousand Corpses, Bill Moseley, Rob Zombie, Sid Haig and Sherry Moon Zombie would return to the Firefly universe with the follow-up movie, The Devil's Rejects, released in 2005. Now this is the DVD variant cover with the kind of the Last Supper table. I'm going to get this signed by Bill Moseley, because I think of the Firefly trilogy, The Devil's Rejects is the best of the three. And the other reason is purely for romantic, nostalgic reasons, because when I met my wife all the way back in 2006, this DVD was our date night film. This is a film we watched many times, and Otis and Captain Spaulding and Baby quickly became our favourite characters, and it's a film that we watch every so often, and it's just a really fun, nostalgic time. In a nutshell, the film picks up after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses a couple of years later. It's a very different universe. I think Rob Zombie said that each of the Firefly films, although the main characters continue throughout all three, they are almost different iterations or different universes for these characters. So Otis returns, Bill Moseley reprises his role. It's very different Otis though. Gone is the kind of albino, over-the-top, makeup wearing, gown wearing, skin wearing character. It's all scaled back a little bit more to depict a very real version of Otis. He has a long beard and he looks considerably more threatening, a bit more Manson-like if you want to go that far. But essentially he is up to no good with his sister Baby in the Firefly house, and the cops have had enough, basically. The law is done. The law decides to come to the house and effectively bring them into justice any means necessary. Be it they arrest the Firefly crew or they kill them all, basically. If they ain't going to come out quietly, they ain't coming out at all, kind of a thing. Otis and Baby escape in the opening title sequence. So again, these are not heavy spoilers. These are the first 5 minutes of the film. They meet up with Captain Spaulding and the trio go on the run, going across country, stealing cars, stealing hotel rooms and murdering as they go. This film is very much a road trip film as opposed to House of a Thousand Corpses, which is very isolated, almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on speed kind of an approach. What I would say about Bill Moseley in this movie is he delivers, as I said earlier, a very different Otis. He is a much more sinister, much more threatening character. Gone is the shouting and screaming and kind of over-the-top character that Bill provided in the first movie, and instead a very cold, very calculated character comes out. It's all still there, it's all still the same character, but it's a very different portrayal. There is a heavily uncomfortable scene involving a older couple with their family where Otis does some horrible things with the end of his pistol, which I won't spoil now, but fans will know what that is, and I'll leave your imagination if you haven't seen the film. And then in the next scene, he is walking with this guy at gunpoint saying, "I hope your wife doesn't rust the end of my pistol barrel." So he goes from being utterly terrifying to saying the most terrifyingly, abhorrently, but kind of funny things at the same time. And he also has, and I'll take out the swear word, maybe one of the greatest lines, which is, "Boy, the next thing that comes out of your mouth better be some proper Mark Twain, because it's definitely getting chiseled on your tombstone." Bill Moseley rules this film. It's an ensemble cast, it's very much a group piece, but Otis is the main man of this movie. And what I would say is, I think, without trying to get too soppy and trying to keep this as quick as possible, The Devil's Rejects, Bill Moseley, Sid Haig and Sherry Moon did something very special in this film, in that they made you like the serial killers. They made you want to root for the serial killers. It's a format that Rob Zombie tried to repeat later and I think failed in a number of his films, but it's taking these absolutely terrifyingly horrible, these murderous necrophiliacs, and yet you kind of like them. You kind of want to know, like, that they're going to be safe and they're going to survive and they're going to have each other and everything's going to be okay. Whether or not it is a completely different matter, and that's for you to go and watch. But The Devil's Rejects is a strong recommend. So I would be remiss not to conclude the Firefly trilogy by talking about Three from Hell. Now, Three from Hell, without trying to be, get into too much of kind of spoiler hate-filled territory, my opinion is that Three from Hell didn't need to get made, but a lot of films don't need to get made. And if you are fans of the Firefly family, if you enjoyed what Bill Moseley was doing in Devil's Rejects, Three from Hell is very much the next stage. Without, again, trying to say too much, because you can't help but spoil some of the Devil's Rejects. The Firefly family continue their reign of terror, is what I would say. Unfortunately, Sid Haig by this point was an extremely ill gentleman. He does make a small appearance in the movie, but sadly he just wasn't well enough to make the movie. So although a different actor who is a very popular actor whose name I have missed, Richard Brake, takes the place of Captain Spaulding. Not literally, he doesn't play Captain Spaulding, he doesn't even try to replicate that kind of a character. Richard Drake, an actor in himself, he came to the con a couple of years ago, but as an actor himself, he plays just horrid characters. Everything he appears in, he is just horrible. I have yet to see him in any movie where I didn't actually like his character. He is just a detestable character. I'm sure he's one of the nicest, kindest actors in the whole world, but every character he plays, it almost spoils things, that when he shows up you kind of go, oh yeah, it's him then. Okay, this ain't gonna go very well. He's that kind of an actor, if you know what I mean. But he always delivers, he's always good. But the Three from Hell are Baby, Otis, and Richard Drake's character, who I have to confess I don't remember the name of the character. I've only watched this once. They continue the reign of terror that the Firefly family have. They are somewhat on the run. They find a haven in Mexico temporarily, and then they are hunted down. What I would say again is the reason to watch this movie is if you enjoy just seeing Bill Moseley doing more of what he did from the last two films, and Sherry Moon as well. We shouldn't discount her work. He is great in this film. He's probably the best thing in this film. He has because it takes place a number of years later, he portrays an Otis who is a bit more tired, a bit more angry, a bit more fed up, but is just even more dangerous as a result of that. He will not tolerate any shtick, any problems. This is a great film if you like Bill Moseley. The rest of it, well, It has its appreciators and it has its haters, is what I would say. But if you want to experience the full Firefly trilogy and you want to experience Bill Moseley's progression of this character over 3 movies, you've got to, continue 3 from Hell. So those are my recommendations if you have not heard of Bill Moseley. I'd be very surprised if you haven't heard of Bill Moseley if you are a horror fan, but I can understand that sometimes people watch films not knowing who the actors are. I think he's a great guy. Every time he appears in documentaries or commentaries, he seems to be life and soul, very funny, very friendly. I understand he's very engaging with his fans. He has a Facebook profile that he does update and gives regular updates and interacts with his fans, so he seems like a really cool guy. In terms of recommendations, if you want the Bill Moseley experience, I would recommend sticking with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and The Devil's Rejects. The Devil's Rejects can be watched as a self-contained movie. You don't necessarily have to watch A House of a Thousand Corpses, but personally I would seek out, as I say, all 3 of those Firefly films if you want a full experience, but anything Bill Moseley's in is always a good time. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Devil's Rejects, those are your 2 films to go to find out what Bill Moseley's all about. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. As I say, they're meant to be very high level, they're not supposed to be deep dives or anything. I will continue to do these for the other actors and actresses who will be appearing in October. Bill Moseley is top of my list. He is a bucket list item. When they announced him, or when he announced himself during the For the Love of Horror live show, that was such a coup. I was so impressed. I'm so happy to hear that he's going to be there. He is pay on the day, so obviously we haven't got a confirmed value yet. There are rumours of a costume photo op, so we'll see obviously if that appears. But Bill Moseley, absolutely A+ for the Love of Horror in terms of guests. So with that being said, stay scared.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.